So in this video I want to talk to you about making amulets, especially for righteous fire, but this applies in general for not spellcaster, for elemental amulets. Um, the reason why I talk about elemental amulets because there's a difference in the crafting process. Um, as you can see right here, if I hit and search for fires, for example, it's going to be only 2 tags, but if I go, so fire, cold, lightning, uh, they are only 1 tag. If I search chaos, it's going to be a different process, it's only 1 tag. And if I search for physical, it's also going to be a different process because there are many tags here. Anyway, that being said, let's just go over quickly how to craft a +2 amulet. There are going to be 3 variants. Um, Mostly it's going to be a very cheap one, a version that is probably most acceptable and can carry you uh, throughout the whole league if you want to. And there's going to be the Giga Amulet that is going to be very expensive, and you're probably going to invest around 50 divines to make it. However, let's just start with the first method. If you want an amulet that is going to be very cheap and has +2, what you would need to search is the level of all skill gems. Uh, and if you search like this, it's going to give you an amulet that this um, one thing that you need to do when you make this filter, you make sure you uncheck the mirrored and the corrupted modes right here, and you search for an amulet. No, corrupt. I mistook here. So now there it doesn't show any mirrored or corrupted amulet. Uh, the best thing you, the best item you could buy besides the bright base, because for example you may not need faster start of energy, shield recharge, or increased variety of items found. Apart from that, you look at the modifiers. The least modifiers, the better. Now I'm going to show you in the emulator how you would create such an amulet. So you go create new items. It's going to be a jewelry and an amulet. Uh, if this amulet has this modifier, and let's just say that it also has some other modifiers like this, it's going to be very difficult for you to buy an to make it look like this. Uh, Basically, this is what you would need. You would want an one suffix and 2 empty prefixes. Now, if you go and search for an amulet and here you type empty prefixes, you would put also empty prefix, empty suffix, since you need to. It's going to be much more expensive, right? And this, for example, it it also needs to have one suffix, so you would put suffix modifiers, uh, and this would be the filter. Now this amulet costs 1 divine. However, for example, 80 chaos. It depends on what's available, right? Um, Maybe you can just get 1 blue with just to level of all skill gems, and you can hit. You can use what is it called? A rigor orb, and hope that it gives you a suffix. If it doesn't give you a suffix, and you are stuck with buying amulets like this, you just have to use an also. As you can see, these are not very expensive, 10, 15, 20, 30k or something like that. The idea is for you to get the amulet to this point. After you get the amulet to this point, what you would do, you would go to the benchcraft. And since we are only talking about the elemental like fire, we are going to use some crafts. Like first of all, you craft can have up to 3 crafted modifiers. Then you would need prefixes cannot be changed, and here's how you craft it. You there are only 2 modifiers for both cold attack, fire, and lightning, and it's going to be fire damage or lightning or cold damage to attacks. So now you'd go to prefixes, bench craft, and you'd craft. Let's just say we make fire. We make 4 righteous fire, right? You'd craft this. The way harvest works. Um, if right now I want to use harvest, add remove, it can remove a suffix, but it will not add a suffix because we already have three full suffixes. This is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So it can remove any of the suffixes. It cannot remove a prefix because we have prefixes cannot be changed, so we cannot lose the +1. But it will guarantee a prefix, and the only fire prefix that can happen, because this is already crafted, so you cannot magically appear, it's going to be guaranteed to the +1 fire. So now we have +1 fire. From this point on, what you can do, you can just remove the crafted modifiers, and then you could craft life like this, and then maybe use uh, an exalt, and this is your amulet. Maybe use another exalt, and this is your amulet. This would be the cheapest way to make it. Now we would go for the second method. It's going to be a bit more expensive, and it's also going to be a better amulet. Uh, you are not going to search for one that has +1 to level of all skill gems, and it now depends on your build, because some elemental builds don't use damage over time multiplier. The idea is whatever suffix you need, that's what your base is going to have the fracture. So if, for example, I'm playing Righteous Fire or I'm playing Cold Damage over time, I'm going to use the damage over time multiplier fracture. If, I don't know, your build does a lot of crit, you're going to use the fracture global critical strike multiplier. I don't know, there are many variants, but the idea is basically the same. You are going to start with a fractured suffix. So let's just say that we are making one for the Righteous Fire, and we are going to put a fractured um, damage over time multiplier. And this is going to be an amulet, once again non-mirror, non-corrupted, and this damage over time multiplier modifier goes up to 26. Realistically speaking, 20 it's quite good. Um, Now, for example, if you get it for 5 kills, buy it. It's just a very good bargain. Obviously, you still have to look at the base. Maybe your build does not need intelligence and it needs strength and dexterity. If you want to go for 26, it's going to be much more expensive and probably not going to be available if you desire to craft this type of amulet in the first days of the league. So let's take, for example, let's just say that we are going to we are going to buy this base. Let's just say we are going to pay roughly 1 divine because 5 kills is definitely too cheap. And if you get one for 5 kills, just buy it immediately and you can resell it later even if you don't craft it. So this is how I would craft the amulet. Let's just use a warp of scouring, and this is the damage over time multiplier. This is the tire. It is fractured. At this point, what you would do, obviously, if you want to use catalyst, use them now. I'm not going to tell you about that. That's really not that big of a deal. You just use spam alterations until you hit +1 to level of all skill gems. Now I have to warn you. This is going to take roughly around 5,000 alterations. On the Craft of Exile site it says 2000, but from my experience it's about 5000 to get this once. On top of that, not just spamming the alteration, it's going to be much harder because right now it's the RNG process. When you wriggle, it either gives you a suffix or a prefix. If it gives you a prefix, the job is finished. The amulet is almost finished. You just need some divines and the item is pretty much done. If it gives you a prefix, however, you have no option but to use an orb of annulment. And if it takes the +1, the item is bricked. You use the orb of annulment once again. You spam the alterations once again until you get the level 4 skill gems. Uh, Once again, use the regal orb, and if it gives you um, a prefix and you annul it, you end up with this amulet. Now this space right here is perfect. If, however, it gives you a random suffix like this, what you have to do right now, you have to go to the crafting bench, and craft prefixes cannot be changed. Now you use an orb of scouring, and your item looks like this. The idea is for your item to look like this. This is once you get to this stage, it's very easy. Now you are going to craft. You can have up to 3 crafted modifiers, and prefixes cannot be changed. And just like in the previous video, we are going to use fire damage to attacks, because when you are going to use harvest, it's going to guarantee the +1. We go to harvest, we go add remove fire, it's going to guarantee the +1. And now we still have the prefixes cannot be changed. And this is where it gets interesting. Do you want to take it even further, or do you want to stop here? Let's just say that you want to stop here. This amulet is good enough for you. What you would do in this case, you would just go craft life. And then you would use some exalts. And this is your amulet. If you want to stop here, now you have an amulet with +2 damage over time multiplier, life, and 2 random suffixes. Depends on what on your luck you get something. So this is the second option. This is the more acceptable version of how to craft an amulet. Um, but this is how you do it. And now for the third option, like for example, if you craft um, for righteous fire, now you need the perfect base. I mean, the amulet with the best implicit. You look at this marble amulet, it's going to be very expensive. One with 21% is going to be around 30 divines. No way you can buy this base. It's way too expensive, right? You will search for a base that does not have 20%. You would search for a base that has damage over time multiplier, and it's a marble amulet and it has 26. And you're looking for one that has only 4 modifiers, because this gives you the best chance for you um, to use fracturing orb. It also has 26% damage over time multiplier. You're good to go. Anyone, if one has 5 modifiers but one is crafted, like in this case, you can still buy it because you can remove the crafted modifier. And the idea is, let's just restart. Give you another example how you craft it. So let's just say that it's a marble amulet. It has damage over time multiplier, and it has 26 roll, and it has also 3 random prefixes. I don't know, it doesn't matter. The idea is for you to use fracturing orb until you get the damage over time multiplier fractured. And as you can see, this is going to be very expensive. Maybe in the beginning of the league, not that expensive, but still gonna be quite expensive. Once you get this fracture, you have the base. This is the perfect base. What you would do? The same as in the previous case. You would spam alterations till you get +1 to level of all skill gems. Then you would use Regal, make it, if it gives you a prefix, once again a null, in the hopes that you end up with this base. If it gives you a suffix, prefixes cannot be changed over scouring. Um, Once again, you go to the crafting bench. You repeat the same process, can have up to 3 crafted modifiers, prefixes cannot be changed, and fire damage to attacks. And you'd go to harvest crafting, add remove fire, it gives you +1 fire. At this point, what you would do, you have to go to remove crafted modifiers, even if you still have the prefixes cannot be changed. You have to remove the crafted modifiers. Then you once again have to craft prefixes cannot be changed. You then go to um, a Aisling. You're going to use Aisling like this, and you hope for a veiled prefix, and you hope that it gives you a very good prefix. Because if it doesn't give you a good prefix, you're screwed, and that there's no way to manage to go around this. But usually it's very easy for you to get either area of effect, which is very good, or increased life. It's almost guaranteed that you will get either one of those. So in our case, we got life. So now we have 3 perfect prefixes and 1 suffix that cannot be modified. At this point, what you would do, you would go craft prefixes cannot be changed. And here's where you gamble it. If you don't care about crafting something as a suffix, you can go use a Veiled Chaos Orb, but this will break the item, and since you spend so much on fracturing orb and getting the perfect base, I don't recommend you do this. What I recommend you do is go to harvest, and here it depends. Like for example, maybe you want increased fire damage, like this. Maybe you want some resistances, or maybe um, you want chaos resistance. I would say that you go for chaos resistance because it's the easiest to get. But if you want fire, you would go add remove fire, and it can either give you fire resistance most of the time, or it gives you increased fire damage. This is up to you what you are willing to gamble. Like for example, let's just say you want the increased fire damage and you don't care about chaos resistance, you go for the add remove fire. But if you want to give you chaos resistance, you spam this until you get a tire of very good chaos resistance. As you can see, this will burn you through a lot of money because add remove it's obviously going to cost you. Even if you do it early in the league, it's going to cost you a few divines, and also the 2 divines craft. So you keep doing this. Maybe you hit tier 1 resistance. This is where you either get lucky or you just waste a lot of currency. So this is why this type of amulet is not really worth crafting. But if you want the best of the best, this is how you do it. Now, the only thing that you can do is either craft something on it, or you just exalt slam it. It depends on what you prefer. Obviously, most of you will just craft something like, let's just say, increased. You'll craft increased fire and cold, fire and chaos, cold, some resistance, or maybe uh, mana regeneration. If the increased effect of non-damaging elements helps you, or increased fire damage, you can do it like this. And this is basically your amulet. This is the most expensive way to do it. It works with every type of elemental amulet. Once again, if you don't care about damage over time multiplier, start with a fractured suffix, whatever you need from this list right here. Maybe you need life per enemy killed per hit, I don't know. Depends on your build. But the idea is still the same, and this is how you do it. This is how you craft a very good amulet.